Chapter 776. Perfect Half-Step Demonic Human King. This was no joke. It represented the most perfect half-step demonic human king, as well as the most invincible. Moreover, the opponent cultivated demonic power, which was higher than Zhen Yuan. It was a higher-level energy. Under the same cultivation base, those who cultivated demonic power could instantly kill those who didn't. This was the disparity between them. Apart from this, as members of the demonic human clan, the six also knew that perfect demonic vessels could awaken innate abilities, which would become more and more frightening along with the increase in realm. For example, if the innate ability was defense, then it would become more and more powerful along with the increase in realm. Even if the opponent's cultivation base was much higher, they would still find it hard to break through. They had only come to capture or kill the murderer. How could they have imagined that they would run into a perfect demonic vessel? The six exchanged glances. Haha. Black Scales laughed heartily and said to the five, "This is our luck. Perfect demonic vessel bloodline. Even my chaotic demon ocean lineage has only cultivated two of them. One is at mid-sea of soul realm, and the other is only at late astral reaching realm. If we capture this person and bring him back, the patriarch and the rest will certainly reward us handsomely. Zhen Yuan crystals and extreme great spirit stones will not be lacking. I wonder where she came from. Apart from our chaotic demon ocean, are there other demonic human clans that can raise a perfect demonic vessel?" Dolong asked. The blue-skinned demonic human said, "My chaotic demon ocean is known as the 10 Great Clans. In fact, in ancient times there were more than 10 demonic human clans. There were hundreds of them. However, with the passage of time, some clans gradually declined until they disappeared. Some clans hid in the dark, never seeing the light of day. Isn't there a Yuan clan on True Spirit Continent? I heard they also have 2 demonic human kings. Perhaps she came from the Yuan clan. Who cares about the Yuan family? Would they dare to fight against our top 10 families?" Earlier on, the leader and the others had already planned to go to the True Spirit Continent and force the Yuan family to migrate over, turning our demi-demon race into the top 11 families. The perfect demi-demon bloodline that they have raised would naturally have to serve us as well. It is only natural. Haha, looks like the heavens favor my demonic human clan. One day, my demonic human clan will unite the entire Elysium." Hearing this, Yichen creased his brows. He didn't expect that the demonic human clan would stretch their hands this far. They actually had their eyes on the True Spirit Continent's demonic human clans, and even wanted to force the Yuan clan to migrate over. Since the Yuan clan had migrated over, the Morong clan and other demonic human clans would not be able to escape either. After all, their strength was too weak, and it was impossible for them to contend against the chaotic demon ocean's demonic human clan. Not to mention them, any power on True Spirit Continent seemed weaker than the chaotic demon ocean's demonic human clan. Morong being targeted by them was definitely a troublesome matter. I was too careless. If I had known this would happen, I would have interrupted Morong's breakthrough and left this place. Yi Chen's eyes narrowed as a cold light flashed within them. However, according to our demonic human clan's historical records, once the perfect demonic human bloodline breaks through to the perfect half-step demonic human king realm, its battle prowess will be unparalleled. With the 6 of us and 500 clansmen, it won't be difficult to defeat or kill her. However, it won't be easy to capture her. The gray-robed demonic human said with a frown. White nightmares killing intent overflowed. There's no need to waste so much effort. As long as we injure her with all our strength, we can bring her back. You're right. Even if she becomes a perfect half-step demonic human king, she will need time to familiarize herself with her strength. She won't be able to excavate her strength to the limit so quickly. Duo Long nodded. The 6 didn't have any intention of interrupting Morong Qingqing's breakthrough. After all, the breakthrough of a perfect demonic human bloodline was no small matter. Once interrupted, who knew what would happen? In the worst case, they might bring back a cripple, and they would be punished. Therefore, they could only wait for Morong Qingqing's breakthrough before capturing her. In any case, with their current strength and numbers, they didn't need to worry about not being able to deal with her. Before that, we have to take care of this trouble first. Turning his head, White Nightmare looked at Yi Chun with a sinister gaze, his white freckled face brimming with killing intent. Since she has the perfect demonic human bloodline, there's no need to keep her alive, lest something unexpected happens. Black Scales sneered. Seems like you're quite confident. Yi Chun secretly accumulated his strength. A peerless destruction sword intent converged in his sea of soul, ready to erupt at any time and destroy everything. You think that with our strength we shouldn't be confident? The blue-skinned demonic human looked at Yi Chun with a mocking expression. Don't waste words with him. Let's attack together and kill him. The destructive power of 500 Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans was too great, and could easily destroy the entire island. Therefore, the six decided to personally take action and kill Yi Chun. With their control ability, as long as they paid the slightest bit of attention, the island wouldn't suffer too much pressure. Very well, I'll kill you as well. Yi Chun's body suddenly leaned forward. Without any warning, he unsheathed the Thunder Disaster Sword and slashed at the sixth waning moon. Buzz! The black crescent-shaped sword energy seemed as if it wanted to devour the whole world. The scorching sun in the sky dimmed, losing its splendor. As the sword energy advanced, a pure destruction sword intent spread out like a storm, engulfing everything. At this moment, Yi Chun exerted his strength to the limit. Bastard, be careful! White Nightmare, who had tasted the might of this sword, roared. Gray-white Zhen Yuan gushed out of his body and surged forward like a surging tide. Apart from Duo Long, the other four already knew that Yi Chun had an extremely powerful sword art. Facing this sword art, they couldn't be careless and had to join hands to defend. Otherwise, their lives would be in danger. Therefore, including Duo Long, all five of them operated their Zhen Yuan to the limit and rushed out together. Converging with White Nightmare's gray-white Zhen Yuan, they formed a multicolored river of Zhen Yuan and intercepted the black sword energy. Rumble! The black sword energy bombarded the river of Zhen Yuan with an unstoppable momentum, bursting out energy ripples that distorted the enchantment above the island. Layers upon layers of black mist were annihilated, as if a black sheet of paper had been painted with a different color, leaving a large empty space. The sun and moon lost their radiance, and the heaven and earth lost their color. The spectating Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans all lost their hearing and sight. They couldn't feel anything, as if time had frozen in this space. Dong! It was unknown how much time had passed. Perhaps it was a very long time, or perhaps it was only an instant, but everyone's hearing was restored. However, the loud noise that followed made them dizzy. Their vision turned black, and they almost fell from the sky. Bearing the brunt of the attack, White Nightmare and the other demonic humans couldn't help but fly back. A trace of blood leaked out from the corner of their mouths, their complexions slightly pale. Meanwhile, Yi Chun also retreated a dozen steps, his clothes fluttering in the wind. How can he be so powerful? Even with the combined strength of the six of us, we can barely block him. Facing him alone, won't we die without a doubt? Black Scales was both startled and furious. Duo Long said, take out the six-way cloud polarity. Otherwise, our chances of killing him won't be high unless we have 500 of our clansmen attack together. And this kid must be dealt with the six-way cloud polarity. A gloomy light flickered in the hand of the gray-robed demonic human, and a wrist-thick chain of unknown length appeared. The chain was black, with a barb at the front and a ring at the back. The ring was tied to a thin chain, and the front of the chain was a buckle that seemed to be able to hold on to something. The chain was clearly an artifact, emitting an extremely powerful fluctuation. However, according to Yi Chun's eyesight, this chain was merely a half-step extreme-grade artifact. He didn't know what kind of mysteries it had. Connect! The blue-skinned demonic human roared. Ka. A shocking scene occurred. The ends of the chains in the hands of the six people could actually connect with each other, interlocking with each other. In this way, the chains in the hands of the six people could be considered as one, turning from individual to whole. Even an idiot could tell that the power of the chains was different. Kill! The six lined up and brandished the chains in their hands, lashing at Yi Chun. Crack! A mountain on the island was only grazed by a chain, and it immediately turned into ashes, blown away by the qi. Meanwhile, the other 5 chains attacked at Yi Chen one after the other. Black qi surged out from the surface of the chains, making them look very thick. At first glance, they looked like 5 black flood dragons dancing in the air, trying to tear Yi Chen into pieces. Ding! His figure flickered as Yi Chen held the Thunder Disaster Sword and clashed head-on with one of the chains. Immediately, an incomparably frightening power transmitted from the chain and struck Yi Chen's body along the Thunder Disaster Sword. Yi Chen's entire body was blasted away. Although he had made ample preparations, he didn't expect the chain's might to be this powerful. How was this a half-step extreme-grade artifact? It was most likely a pseudo-extreme-grade artifact, with the 6 of them using a pseudo-supreme-grade artifact. Although their movements were inconvenient, their Zhen Yuan was more abundant. After all, the Zhen Yuan of 6 people added together was not something a single person could compare to. He finally understood the use of the 6-way cloud pollution. With it, the 6 of them could completely contend against a strongest half-step king. What? Didn't kill him? Didn't injure him either? Duolong was astonished. So that's how it is. He's wearing a pseudo-extreme-grade defensive artifact. No wonder he can come out unscathed. Seeing the bronze runes on Yi Chen's protective Zhen Yuan, White Nightmare immediately understood. So what if he has a pseudo-extreme-grade defensive artifact? His cultivation base is only at the peak late sea of Soul Realm. He simply can't bring out the full might of a pseudo-extreme-grade defensive artifact. Moreover, activating a pseudo-extreme-grade defensive artifact requires a large amount of Zhen Yuan. He can't use it more than a few times. Kill. With that thought in mind, the 6 of them continued to wave their chains and attack Yi Chen. Whatever the chains that were spewing out with the black qi would be destroyed. Dang dang dang. Yi Chen unceasingly waved his sword to counterattack. Due to his apprehension of the chain's destructive power, he had to send out sword qi through the air to block the chain. However, the sword qi couldn't compare to the attack of the sword itself, and was easily shattered by the chain. Left without a choice, Yi Chen clashed with the chain a few more times. Each time, his blood and qi boiled, and he rapidly retreated. Chapter 777. Die! White Nightmare and Hei Lin had the highest cultivation base. The 2 waved the black chains in their hands, and like 2 dragons emerging from the sea, they attacked Yi Chen from the left and right. The frightening pressure brought by the 6-way cloud pollution froze the space around Yi Chen, making it hard for him to dodge. At this moment, Yi Chen couldn't afford to hold back anymore. He shot out 4 void-shattering fingers, each striking the 2 chains. Space immediately warped. Although the 6-way cloud pollution was powerful, its trajectory was warped by the void-shattering fingers, and it slid to the side. Space profound. Hei Lin's pupil shrank. His space profound has become much more powerful. Duolong was the only one who had seen Yi Chen's void-shattering fingers. He could tell that Yi Chen's void-shattering fingers had become even more powerful. It could even warp the 6-way cloud pollution's trajectory. Yi Chen's figure shot backward. Not daring to waste a single second, he took out 2 upper supreme-grade pellets from his storage ring, swallowing one and hiding the other in his mouth. This pellet was a semi-supreme-grade pellet given to him by Dragon God's Celestial Palace. Not only could it rapidly recover Zhen Yuan, it had no side effects. Unfortunately, there was only 1 bottle, and every time he used one, it would be 1 less. The pellet melted in his mouth like a clear spring, flowing through his limbs and bones while recovering Yi Chen's withered Zhen Yuan. Let's attack together. Use the 6-way array. He has a semi-supreme grade pellet for recovering Zhen Yuan. Seeing Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan rising again, the blue-skinned demonic human's expression changed as he yelled at the other 5. We actually have to use the 6-way array to kill him. Even if this kid dies, he should be proud. Yi Chen's toughness caused the 6 expressions to turn grave. The 6-way cloud polishing rope was an artifact passed down in the demonic human race. It could be divided into 6 parts, and the 6 parts could also combine into one, forming a pseudo-extreme grade artifact. Corresponding to this artifact was a 6-way array. The 6-way array combined with the 6-way cloud polishing rope could not only trap the enemy, but also exhaust them, ultimately killing them. It was originally meant to deal with strongest half-step kings. Who would have thought that it would be used on a peak C of Soul Realm cultivator like Yi Chen? The 6 of them had also consumed a lot of Zhen Yuan. Using the 6-way array required a lot of Zhen Yuan. The 6 of them swallowed down a medicinal pill at the same time, trying their best to restore their Zhen Yuan. 6-way formation, seal heaven and earth. The thin chains attached to the chains were extremely long. The 6 separated and surrounded Yi Chen in the middle, forming a 6-way array. As soon as the array was formed, a boundless and frightening black qi flowed along the chains and shot out from the 6 bodies, forming 6 black qi pillars. The qi pillars connected with each other and formed a thin black membrane, sealing Yi Chen within. Inside the 6-way array, Yi Chen could no longer see the scene on the island. Raising his head, he could only see black qi surging everywhere. What a mysterious array! Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan had already recovered 80%, so he didn't have to worry about running out of Zhen Yuan for the time being. However, the situation before him didn't allow him to be optimistic. Huff! Huff! In the void, black qi surged. All of a sudden, a chain shrouded in black qi appeared out of nowhere and attacked Yi Chen with an unstoppable momentum. Yi Chen didn't dare to face it head-on. Using the void-shattering finger's power, he twisted the chain's attack trajectory. However, in the next moment, another 5 chains appeared out of nowhere. Since he couldn't see the source of the chains, Yi Chen's reaction was a bit slower. He couldn't change the trajectory of the 5 chains at the same time like before. Only 3 of them could be twisted, while the remaining 2 were like evil dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. Sword light flight art. Forming the sword wings on his back, Yi Chen's body flashed once, barely dodging the last 2 chains, brushing past his body. Huff! 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 The second wave of attacks followed. 6 chains danced in the air, forming an inescapable net. Meanwhile, Yi Chen felt like he was walking on a tightrope. He could be hit by the chains at any moment and fall from the tightrope, smashing his body into pieces. This won't do. Do I have to use the Sky Scorpio sword? Inside the 6-way array, Yi Chen was already at a disadvantage. He would be defeated and killed sooner or later. At this moment, apart from the Sky Scorpio sword, there was nothing else that could help Yi Chen break the 6-way array and escape. However, using the Sky Scorpio sword was no small matter. The Sky Scorpio sword was the sword of the Sky Scorpio King under Emperor 4 Extreme. It contained one of the 10 great miraculous metals, the purple crystal iron. When activated by the sword qi, it could instantly crystallize and shatter anything it came into contact with. However, with Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan, he could only use the Sky Scorpio sword once. After that, his Zhen Yuan would be completely drained. Although he had the Dragon God metal, which stored 30% of his Zhen Yuan, and could be replenished at any time, as well as half a bottle of upper clear pellets, which could also allow his Zhen Yuan to recover very quickly. However, one mustn't forget that there were still 500 C of Soul Realm demonic humans outside. Even if he destroyed the 6-way array and killed 6 half-step demonic human kings, he would still have to face the joint attack of 500 C of Soul Realm demonic humans. The joint attack of 500 C of Soul Realm demonic humans was absolutely destructive. Not to mention him, even a strongest half-step king would perish. Putting aside all these, once the Sky Scorpio sword appeared, Yi Chen would have to silence everyone who saw it, because it was too precious. After these demonic humans returned, they would certainly report the news to their demonic human kings. At that time, the ones chasing after him would not be Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans, or half-step demonic human kings, but genuine demonic human kings. With his strength, even with the Sky Scorpio sword, facing a demonic human king would only lead to death. Could he exterminate all the demonic humans here? Clearly not. The biggest possibility was that after killing 6 half-step demonic human kings, he would be killed by 500 Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans. This possibility was 90%. Whatever, it's not the time of life and death yet. If that moment comes, even if I die, I'll use the Sky Scorpio sword. Being overcautious was not Yi Chen's style, but he couldn't be too impulsive either. Yi Chen decided to wait until Morong Qingqing broke through to half-step demonic human king realm. Then, they would attack the six-way array together and open a passage in the enchantment, leaving this place. Morong, you have to hurry. Yi Chen felt that he wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. In Morong Qingqing's seclusion cave buzz, waves of powerful demon power spread out. Morong Qingqing, who was at the source of the ripples, was dripping wet one moment, and then dry the next. A thick white mist seemed to pour out from the top of her head. Her face was extremely dry, and her lips had already cracked open, with many wrinkles appearing on them. Her hair had gradually turned from black to yellow, without a trace of luster. However, at this moment, an even more vast demonic power fluctuation spread out. The mountain where the cave was located trembled, and a dazzling black radiance shot out from the cracks on the mountain's surface. The entire mountain looked like a huge hedgehog, with black radiance like swords. Ha! A crisp roar pierced through the sky. Morong Qingqing suddenly opened her eyes, which were unfathomable and incomparably sharp. The long hair on her head danced like black flames. Puff! White mist spread out in all directions. Morong Qingqing opened her hands, and her body bent into a bow shape. The water chi of heaven and earth gathered with her as the center, fusing into her body and nourishing her withered body. One could see with naked eyes that Morong Qingqing's long hair turned black and supple, carrying a trace of black light. The skin on her face returned to its original white and supple state, without a trace of blemish. It was like a boiled egg that had just been peeled off. The dead skin on her lips fell off automatically, revealing her moist and supple skin. She has broken through. Don't waste time. Kill this kid as soon as possible. He Lin had a bad premonition as he yelled. At the same time, he sent a Zhen Yuan transmission to his 500 clansmen, telling them to stop Morong Qingqing and not let her come over and destroy the six-way formation. Within the six-way formation, the frequency of the chain's attacks became higher and higher. It had long since reached the point of being dazzling and indistinguishable. If not for Yi Chen's pseudo-extreme grade armor, Dragon God Metal, Upper Clear Pellet, and Void Shattering Finger, he would have long since been killed. In fact, although Yi Chen's strength couldn't compare to the strongest half-step kings, his survivability was still above them. The strongest half-step kings were stronger than Yi Chen in terms of offense and Zhen Yuan. However, in terms of reaction, defense, and technique, they might not necessarily be able to surpass Yi Chen. This was also the biggest reason why Yi Chen could last until now. The chain's attack frequency suddenly increased, and the pressure on Yi Chen instantly increased tenfold. Ding! 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 However, what left White Nightmare, and the rest in disbelief, was that Yi Chen had once again used a space profound sword art. This sword art had many loopholes, and it hadn't been fused with the space profound, so its might wasn't that formidable. However, it still contained the space profound. The instant it clashed with the chains, it could twist the chain's trajectory, allowing it to counter 1,000 caddies with little effort. Why is this kid so troublesome? Duo Long almost cursed it out loud. Go to hell. The six mustered their Zhen Yuan, and brandished the chain with all their might, crazily attacking Yi Chen. The frequency once again doubled, and the Zhen Yuan within their bodies flowed like water. Puff! It was difficult for two fists to contend against four hands. Yi Chen's space profound sword art was still imperfect, and it was hard for him to resist such a high frequency of attacks. After being whipped several times by the chain, his protective Zhen Yuan, which had been amplified by the bronze armor, dimmed a bit. A tyrannical power passed through the protective Zhen Yuan and struck Yi Chen's body. Even though the power was weakened, it still caused him to spurt out a mouthful of blood. Only now could Morong Qingqing freely control the demonic power within her body. She turned her head and saw the six half-step kings forming the six-way array. The array was pitch black, and nothing could be seen. However, as long as one wasn't an idiot, they would know that the person inside was Yi Chen. Stop him! 500 Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans blocked in front of Morong Qingqing. Their weapons and gloves flickered with all kinds of lights. As long as their leader gave the order, they would attack together. Morong Qingqing coldly smiled. With a pung, a pair of huge black wings unfolded from her back. Black chi surged on the wings like black flames. With a fierce flap of the wings, Morong Qingqing's body instantly disappeared and reappeared behind the 500 Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans. So fast, the Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans were dumbstruck. They couldn't even keep up with such speed. How could they fight? A perfect half-step king was too frightening, especially one with innate speed. Chapter 778. The Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans could only look on blankly as Morong Qingqing flew toward Yi Chen. At this moment, they didn't dare to attack, because whether it was the enemy or the 6 half-step kings leading them, they would all be within their range of attack. She's coming. Activate the 6-way array. As long as we have a bit more time, we'll be able to kill this kid. White Nightmare and the rest were paying attention to Morong Qingqing. Seeing that the 500 clansmen couldn't stop her, their complexions changed. Each of them swallowed a Zhen Yuan replenishing pellet and activated the 6-way cloud polation with all their strength. The black chi of the 6-way cloud polation roiled, and the 6 thin chains connected to it were activated. A second membrane appeared around the 6, putting them in between the 2 layers. Seeing this, Morong Qingqing's right hand turned into a blade and chopped down. Pung! The membrane around the 6 crazily distorted, causing their complexions to turn pale. It can't be broken. Morong Qingqing's brows creased. Midway, her hands rapidly formed seals. Due to her fast speed, it seemed as if her hands were shrouded in an illusory sphere. At the same time, boundless dark power rippled out from her body. Dark Devour. After forming seals, Morong Qingqing pushed her hands forward. Rumble. On the outer wall of the membrane, a dark energy ball that was constantly collapsing and rotating appeared. This dark energy ball was like a black hole, emitting an astonishing suction force that was distorting the membrane around the 6 of them. Under this terrifying suction force, the membrane became unstable, expanding and contracting at times, as if it could collapse at any time. Don't even think about it. The 6 roared and poured their Zhen Yuan into the 6-way cloud polation like water, stabilizing the membrane. Morong Qingqing coldly snorted and formed seals again, condensing a second dark energy sphere. Under the pincer attack of 2 dark energy spheres, the membrane finally couldn't endure and loudly collapsed. Puff! With the outer array broken, the 6 spurted blood, their Zhen Yuan fluctuating. Break! Taking advantage of this opportunity, Morong Qingqing struck toward Duo Long, who was the closest to her. As long as one of the 6 was injured or became uncoordinated, the 6-way cloud polation would collapse. Damn it! As a last resort, Duo Long couldn't afford to attack Yi Chen anymore. He moved his body horizontally, avoiding Morong Qingqing's incoming palm energy. As his body moved, a flaw appeared in the 6-direction formation, and a gap appeared. With a swoosh, a sword light flashed, and Yi Chen rushed out of the gap. Fortunately, you broke through in time. Yi Chen was in a sorry state. There were many tears on his clothes, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Fortunately, this was only his appearance. With the undying body, these injuries were nothing to Yi Chen. Of course, if Morong Qingqing had come a little later, the situation would have been even worse. Why didn't you interrupt me? Seeing the 500 Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans and 6 half-step kings, Morong Qingqing sucked in a breath of cold air. She was somewhat blaming him. Facing so many enemies, Yi Chen should have interrupted her breakthrough and left together instead of risking his life to buy time for her. It's fine. You still don't believe me? Moreover, it's not like I don't have a trump card. I just can't use it casually. Yi Chen was talking about the Sky Scorpio sword. If I had broken through a little later, even if you had the Sky Scorpio sword, you might not have been safe. Morong Qingqing sized up the 6 half-step kings, then turned her head to glance at the 500 Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans. She was speechless. This kind of lineup was not a joke. Let's go out first. I should be able to open a gap in this enchantment. Morong Qingqing's breakthrough allowed Yi Chen to heave a sigh of relief. Stalling for time was correct. Things were progressing in a good direction, and the only thing he had to face now was the enchantment. Want to leave? It won't be that easy. White Nightmare and the other 5 were attracted by Morong Qingqing's temperament. Compared to Morong Qingqing, even the perfect demonic human bloodline of chaotic demon ocean clan was far inferior to Morong Qingqing. She seemed to be the most perfect without a single flaw. Since they had encountered such a perfect demonic human bloodline, they had no reason to let her go. Therefore, they had to capture her. Miss, you and I are both part of the demonic human clan, and you have the perfect demonic human bloodline. As long as you come back with us, I can guarantee that our demonic human clan will worship you as the saintess. This is much better than wandering the world with him. I believe you will make the right choice. Duolong said patiently. Morong Qingqing said, I have my own clan. I don't need to join the chaotic demon ocean clan. Hehe. If I'm not wrong, you should be from True Spirit Continent's demonic human clan. They're too weak, and they're harming the dignity of my demonic human clan. Moreover, it's not just you. In the future, True Spirit Continent's demonic human clan will also join my chaotic demon ocean. Duolong revealed a faint smile. Then we'll talk about it later. As she spoke, Morong Qingqing silently held Yi Chen's palm, secretly accumulating demonic power. Yi Chen's heart shook as he understood Morong Qingqing's plan. I'm afraid it won't be good in the future. Why don't you come to my clan as guests? As long as the 2 returned to their territory, they would have the final say. Let's go. Morong Qingqing spoke halfway when the wings on her back fiercely flapped. A black halo emitted from her body as she brought Yi Chen toward the enchantment at the edge of the island. Her speed was so fast that only a black light could be seen. It was no different from teleportation. Damn it! Stop her! The 6 had long since been on guard against Morong Qingqing and Yi Chen's escape. The moment the 2 disappeared, they brandished their chains and lashed at the 2. The 6-way cloud polation was, after all, a pseudo-supreme grade artifact. Once activated, its speed was inconceivably fast. Unfortunately, Morong Qingqing's speed was not much slower than the 6-way cloud polation. Adding on the fact that she was a step ahead, there was still a certain distance between them. No matter how much the 6-way cloud polation urged, it could only gradually close the distance. The island was not small, but it was not big either. Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing soon arrived before the enchantment, with the 6-way cloud polation still chasing after them. Void-shattering finger. Yi Chen urged the space profound and stabbed at the enchantment in front of him. The enchantment was infused with the power of space, and was hard to see with the naked eye. However, under the attack of the void-shattering finger, it instantly distorted and bulged outwards. Pop! A spiraling passage appeared before the 2. The walls of the passage looked like glass shards, a sign of the solidification of space power. Let's go! With no time to lose, the 2 rushed toward the spiraling passage. How is this possible? He actually broke the enchantment. The 6 turned pale with fright. The Hidden Fog enchantment was a rare enchantment of demonic humans. Although they knew that Yi Chen knew the space profound, with his cultivation base and realm, it would be hard for him to break it. However, the scene before them clearly told them that Yi Chen had the ability to break the enchantment. It was truly beyond their expectations. Yi Chen's ability to break the enchantment was naturally not purely relying on the space profound. He also had the soul eye, which granted him the ability to instantly see through the imperfections of the enchantment. After all, not everyone outside was proficient in using the enchantment. Relying on this ability, he dared to say that he had a certain amount of confidence in breaking the enchantment. And now he had succeeded. Without the 6th command, the 500 Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans had already started attacking the moment Morong Qingqing and Yi Chen escaped. Therefore, the instant the 2 entered the passage, hundreds of attacks rained down on them. Shwa! Unfortunately, the 2 were a step faster and entered the spiraling passage first. Bang! 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 The attacks landed on the enchantment barrier and the spiraling passage, producing a series of loud explosions. The passage rapidly collapsed and chased after Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing. Open the enchantment quickly! Duolong transmitted his voice to the demonic humans outside through a special method. Although the Sea of Soul Realm demonic humans outside didn't know what was happening inside, they could feel the enchantment shaking. Someone had forcefully broken the enchantment and was about to come out. Therefore, with Duo Long's command, they immediately stopped operating the enchantment and dispersed their Zhen Yuan. Layers of black mist scattered, and a gale blew in from the ocean outside the island. The entire island was suddenly exposed to the heaven and earth, looking extremely mysterious. The enchantment disappeared. Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing felt the pressure lighten. Looking back, the island returned to its original appearance, without any barrier. Forget about it. Let's leave this place first. Without the enchantment, Morong Qingqing's speed sharply increased once again. With a flap of the black wings on her back, she brought Yi Chun away like a black ray of light. After traveling for several dozen li, Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing suddenly felt a frightening crisis approaching. Looking back, the two's expressions instantly changed. In his line of sight, a gigantic black chain that was several meters thick and immeasurably long rushed over. Wherever it went, the seawater was plowed open, the clouds in the sky were shattered, and some small islands suddenly collapsed, turning into dust. The might of this chain was terrifying to the point of being a complete mess. And the source of the chain was in White Nightmare's hands. Unknowingly, the six-way cloud pollution had reassembled into a single chain. Holding the six-way cloud pollution chain in its other form, White Nightmare circulated his Zhen Yuan with all his might, and lashed out with the chain. As the chain lashed out, it automatically enlarged and lengthened, resulting in the scene just now. This is the true power of the pseudo-extreme great artifact, the six-way cloud polishing rope. Its previous form could be used in conjunction with arrays, but its might was spread out. Its offensive power was only several times that of a half-step extreme great artifact, not reaching the standard of a pseudo-extreme great artifact. Only then did Yi Chun understand how frightening the six-way cloud pollution chain was, and how frightening a pseudo-extreme great artifact was. The bronze armor and six-way cloud pollution chain were of similar grade, but his cultivation base was only at peak late Sea of Soul Realm. Being able to resist the six-way cloud pollution chain made him feel somewhat strange. Rumble. The six-way cloud pollution chain's might was unparalleled as it swept toward the two with unstoppable momentum. Waning Moon. Demonic Finger. Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing turned around and used their strongest moves attacking the chain. Chapter 779. The black crescent-shaped sword power contained the profoundness of metal and water. It was sharp and tenacious at the same time, and had great potential. When the sword was swung out, it seemed like the void was about to be cut open. Before it collided with the chains, the sharp sword power had already counterattacked. The black finger energy was Morong Qingqing's innate skill, Demonic Finger. Using Morong Qingqing's perfect half-step Demonic King strength, its might was 10 times greater than before. The finger shot out, dragging a heart-palpitating black luster behind it, as if it was a resplendent black diamond. Dong! The crescent-shaped sword energy and the black finger energy collided with the chain, creating a shockwave that swept out in all directions. The island below exploded with a bang, and the surrounding 100 li of seawater caved in by several thousand meters. A huge black hole also appeared in the sky. This was the sign of stunning sky being torn apart by the shockwave. The might of the exchange between the two sides had already faintly surpassed the peak confrontation of two strongest half-step kings. The shockwave not only destroyed everything in the vicinity, but also sent Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing flying with blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. White Nightmare also spurted out blood. Yi Chun's Waning Moon and Morong Qingqing's Demonic Finger were enough to deal with one of them, but two of them were beyond his power. Moreover, the six-way cloud scraping rope was not an ordinary pseudo-supreme grade artifact, and its Zhen Yuan requirement was enormous. Thus, White Nightmare's Zhen Yuan, which wasn't much to begin with, made him incomparably weak. His injuries seemed even more severe than those of Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing. You didn't stop them? Beside him, He Lin's face was gloomy. Morong Qingqing's speed was astonishing, and the distance between them was close to 100 li. Even if they chased, they wouldn't be able to catch up. White Nightmare rigidly stared at the two in the distance and said, "Worthy of being a perfect half-step demonic human king. As soon as she entered this realm, her strength is already close to a strongest half-step king. Given some time, it won't be hard for her to become a strongest half-step king." On the side, Duo Long smiled bitterly and said, "There's also that kid. His cultivation base is not high, but the profound sense martial skill he comprehended is incomparably profound, allowing him to display 10 times his strength. Fortunately, he hasn't become a half-step king. Otherwise, the ones running away wouldn't be them but us. Although we didn't catch them, it's not like we didn't gain anything. Since we found the whereabouts of perfect half-step demonic human kings, the patriarchs will reward us with some Zhenyuan crystals and supreme grade spirit stones. It's better than returning empty-handed," the blue-skinned humanoid comforted himself. After flying for tens of thousands of miles in a single breath, Morong Qingqing and Yi Chen finally slowed down a little, maintaining their normal speed. A pseudo-supreme grade artifact really can't be underestimated. That demonic human strength was lower than ours, but he could display a might surpassing ours. Trivial injuries were nothing to the two. Yi Chen had the undying body and instantly recovered. On the other hand, Morong Qingqing had a perfect demonic human bloodline, and her fourth-step demonic body was no small matter. Although her recovery speed was inferior to Yi Chen's, she had long since recovered. At this moment Yi Chen sighed. Morong Qingqing said, "This chain should be a peak existence among pseudo-supreme grade artifacts." Pseudo-supreme grade artifacts were usually replicas of supreme grade artifacts, and their might could hardly reach even half of an extreme grade artifact's might. Pseudo-supreme grade artifacts were inferior to pseudo-supreme grade artifacts, but it was not to say that pseudo-supreme grade artifacts were necessarily inferior to pseudo-supreme grade artifacts. Some extremely powerful pseudo-supreme grade artifacts were not inferior to pseudo-supreme grade artifacts at all. However, this six-way cloud pollution chain's might was simply too powerful, and it had many transformations. Even with the two of them joining hands, they could only slightly suppress it, and suffered some minor injuries. If it were the other two, they would have been smashed into meat paste by the chain. The demonic humans are the rulers of chaotic demonic ocean, and their hands and eyes are everywhere. It seems like we can't stay here any longer. We have to leave as soon as possible. They had hidden themselves well enough, and were more than 1,000,000 li away from the scene of the incident. But they had still been discovered. It was easy to see how terrifying the demonic humans' control over chaotic demonic ocean was. It would be very difficult to escape their pursuit. The two no longer hesitated, choosing a direction and flying at a normal speed. After the two escaped, White Nightmare's group of 6 didn't linger on the island any longer. They immediately set off, returning to the demonic humans' headquarters. They wanted to report the discovery of the perfect demonic human bloodline and let the higher-ups make a decision. On the way back, the black-robed old man of the demonic human clan was also hurrying. His figure flashed through the void, and his speed was unimaginable. A moment ago, he was still 100,000 li away, but the next moment, he was right in front of them. With the appearance of the black chi, the old man stopped as usual and began to investigate. The old man closed his eyes, and an incorporeal soul power spread out in all directions, covering a radius of several tens of thousands li. Seeing that there was nothing strange within several tens of thousands li, the old man formed a seal with both hands and let out a low roar. The evenly spread out soul power spread out, and the area it covered expanded by several times, reaching a radius of 200,000 li. The old man opened his eyes, and a strange expression appeared on his face. Puff! The black chi dissipated, and the old man disappeared. White Nightmare's group of 6 quickly led the 600 clansmen. Suddenly, a black chi appeared in the sky before them, and a black-robed old man walked out. Ancestor! White Nightmare and the rest were shocked, and one after another, they bowed in respect. The 500 clansmen behind them directly knelt in the void, not daring to raise their heads. The black-robed old man was none other than one of the demonic human kings of the demonic human clan. Demonic human kings were extremely revered existences no matter where they were. In the demonic human clan, they were called ancestor. This black-robed old man was extremely old, at least several hundred years old. Thus he was worthy of being called ancestor. All of you rise. The black-robed old man said expressionlessly. Yes, White Nightmare, and the 500 clansmen rose one after another. From your appearance, you seem to have fought with someone? The black-robed old man asked. The fat demonic human duo Long said. Ancestor, we've already found the culprit, but we were useless. He escaped again. The 6 of you together with the 6-way cloud polishing rope, and 600 clansmen still couldn't catch him. Could he be a strongest half-step king? The black-robed old man's face sank. Beside him, Black Scales explained. Ancestor, he's not a strongest half-step king, but he has grasped an extremely profound space profound, able to distort the 6-way cloud polishing rope's attack trajectory. Moreover, his strength is also close to a strongest half-step king. His sword arts are unpredictable and hard to deal with. Oh, grasping space profound. This is not surprising. Space profound is one of the strongest profounds, and has many wondrous uses. It can't be calculated with common sense. It's understandable that you couldn't catch him, but from your expressions, I'm afraid that's not the main reason. The black-robed old man observed their expressions and asked back. Ancestor is wise. Duo Long cupped his hands and said. He was able to escape because he had a companion, and that companion's identity is no small matter. He has perfect demonic human bloodline, and has already advanced to half-step king realm, possessing innate speed abilities. Perfect demonic human bloodline? Speak quickly. The black-robed old man's complexion suddenly changed, no longer maintaining his calm demeanor. Duo Long didn't dare to keep the old man in suspense and said, according to our conjecture, she should be from True Spirit Continent. When we talked to her, she didn't deny it either. I'm thinking that our chaotic demonic ocean lineage should migrate people from True Spirit Continent to strengthen our clan. The black-robed old man glared at Duo Long. Don't ask about matters that don't concern you. Yes. Duo Long was startled and immediately lowered his head. True Spirit Continent is not a good place. There are as many kings as there are clouds in the sky, far more than any other place. If our chaotic demonic ocean lineage wants to subdue the True Spirit Continent's demonic human clan, we have to think long and hard. We can't be too hasty, lest we bring disaster upon ourselves. Although the chaotic demon ocean's demonic human clan seemed to be much more powerful than any power on True Spirit Continent, True Spirit Continent was not as simple as it looked. True Spirit Continent was known as the Land of 100 Kings, and the number of life and death kings had never been less than 100. And this was only the human side. Adding the demonic beasts and other races, there were even more life and death kings. If one recklessly charged in, even the chaotic demon ocean's demonic human clan would not be able to escape unscathed. Otherwise, they would have long since forced the entire True Spirit Continent to migrate. Alright, you go back and report this matter. I'll chase after them. The black-robed old man attached great importance to this matter. He wished he could immediately chase after that perfect demonic human bloodline. Unfortunately, 2 days had already passed, and the other party had already fled several million li away. With his ability, he couldn't find them in a short time. Yes, Duo Long, White Nightmare, and the other 5 immediately left with 600 clansmen. Perfect demonic human bloodline, hee. The black-robed old man coldly smiled and his body turned into black chi, disappearing like a bubble. Chaotic demonic ocean occupied several million li. 5 days later, Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing left chaotic demonic ocean and arrived at the ocean outside. The two didn't continue on their way, but instead found a secluded island as a temporary resting place. Because Morong Qingqing had just entered the half-step king realm, she didn't have the time to consolidate her cultivation base and familiarize herself with her abilities. She could use this opportunity to consolidate her foundation. Moreover, with demonic power crystals, she could continue to strengthen her Zhen Yuan after consolidating her cultivation base. As for Yi Chun, although he had no hope of entering the half-step king realm for the time being, his space profound had already reached 40% completion, and his space profound sword art had also taken shape. As long as he had the time, creating a space profound sword art wouldn't be too difficult. Once the space profound was formed, Yi Chen's battle strength would naturally soar, and he would be able to contend against strongest half-step kings. Moreover, the space profound had many uses, and Yi Chen only knew a few of them. But just this little bit was enough to benefit him immensely, allowing him to contend against 6 half-step demonic human kings. If not for the space profound, he would have been defeated long ago. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a week had passed. Break! In a mountain range in the center of the island, Yi Chen held the Thunder Disaster sword in his hand and waved it out. The mountain in front of him twisted instantly before shattering like a mirror. Space profound is indeed formidable. This sword art of mine can't be considered complete, but its might is already not inferior to Waning Moon. Moreover, it's even more difficult to guard against. As long as one is enveloped by the sword aura, it'll be like a mirror, hard to dodge. If one's strength is slightly weaker, they'll be shattered into millions of pieces. Yi Chen himself was astonished by the sword art's destructive power. What a powerful human! It's better to retreat. There were many oceanic beasts in the deep ocean. The sudden appearance of 2 humans on the island had already attracted the attention of many powerful oceanic beasts. The oceanic beast that had retreated a moment ago was a half-step demonic beast king, not inferior to a human half-step king. Seeing Yi Chen's sword art so powerful, how could it dare to have any devious thoughts? It immediately retreated. Chapter 780. Yi Chen smiled faintly, and didn't mind it too much. Although the opponent's concealment skill was very high, being able to merge with the sea water, it still couldn't escape his soul power's detection. The reason why he didn't make things difficult for him was because he was in the deep sea, the territory of the sea beasts. It was best not to cause any trouble. This sword move has already reached 60 to 70% completion. I can give it a name now. Thinking back to the scene just now, Yi Chen mumbled to himself, let's call it Bewitching Mirror Shattering. When the sword was waved out, the mountain seemed to be reflected in a mirror and then shattered, giving people a very illusory feeling. Therefore, the first 2 words were very suitable, as it was both poetic and dreamy. The second 2 words, shattering, brought people back to the cruel atmosphere. No matter how beautiful the bewitching mirror was, it would still shatter one day. Swords were originally used for killing, and sword moves were also created for killing. Bewitching mirror shattering. Bewitching mirror shattering. Yi Chen repeated it twice and suddenly smiled. The space profound has many wondrous uses. This move is just one of the uses of the space profound. Next, I will create the second and third moves, and the space profound sword art will also become one of my strongest sword arts. The theory of bewitching mirror shattering was not hard. It was to spread out the space power under the urging of the sword chi. Once the space power locked onto the target, it would suddenly condense and freeze the opponent. Then under the effect of the sword chi, it would shatter along with the opponent. The theory was not hard, but the execution was not so simple. First, the space profound had to be very profound, and then it had to be closely integrated with the sword art. Otherwise, the opponent would be able to find an opening and escape, and the move would be broken. Another 2 weeks passed, and Yi Chen's mastery of bewitching mirror shattering was getting better and better. It had also reached 70% completion from 60 to 70%. He could feel that as this move was perfected, his recently stagnant space profound was steadily improving. With the improvement of the space profound, his mastery of bewitching mirror shattering was getting better and better. The 2 complemented each other, and the improvement of the move was even faster. Rumble. On this day, a mountain peak in the west of the mountain range started to shake, and an extremely powerful demonic ripple spread out in all directions. Murong is coming out of seclusion. Yi Chen looked over. Murong Qingqing had consolidated her cultivation a week ago. In the following week, she had been using the demonic crystals to increase her demonic power. The demonic crystals were worthy of being called demonic crystals. In just a week, her cultivation had doubled. The demonic power fluctuations she emitted were much stronger. than when she had just advanced to the half-step demonic king realm. Even the space around her was trembling. Stretching out her right hand, Morong Qingqing gently pushed forward. Puff! Powerful demonic energy gushed out, piercing through the mountain wall that was hundreds of meters thick. It was no harder than tofu. In a flash, Morong Qingqing turned into a black rainbow and flew out of the mountain peak. It looks like your cultivation has doubled. Yichen walked over and speculated based on the demonic aura emitted by Morong Qingqing. Morong Qingqing said, "Originally, it was impossible to double my cultivation in a week. However, after I advanced to the half-step demonic king realm, the remnant demonic power essence in my body started to dilute and merge with my demonic power. Demonic power essence is no small matter. It is your fortune to have obtained it." Recalling the past, Yichen couldn't help but sigh at the effect of the demonic power essence on Morong Qingqing. Without the demonic power essence, it would have been extremely difficult for Morong Qingqing to advance in this world, where demonic qi was scarce. Others might have advanced by 2 realms, but she might not have advanced by 1 realm. It could be said that the demonic power essence made Morong Qingqing who she was today. This demonic power essence still has its mysteries. Morong Qingqing reached out her left hand. Amidst the flickering black light, a black crystal the size of a date seed rose up. Yichen said in surprise, "You can already control the demonic power essence?" "Yes, but it can't leave my body. Otherwise it will scatter." Morong Qingqing faintly nodded and continued, "I can feel that there is something imprinted inside. It seems to be a demon race martial art or something. In the past couple of days, some vague fragments of information have appeared in my head. In the parallel space battlefield, the demonic king has been sealed for countless years, and his demonic power has been severely depleted. Even so, the Thunder King, the Beast King, and the Shining King were almost killed by him. It is easy to see that at his peak, he had the strength of a titled monarch. It is understandable that his demonic power essence is a bit mysterious." Yichen looked at the remaining demonic power essence and found that it was somewhat similar to a demonic power crystal, but not completely. There were many complicated and profound patterns inside. These patterns were not inanimate objects, but were slowly moving and changing form from time to time. "My space profound sword art has reached 70 to 80% completion, and its power has surpassed waning moon. Your cultivation base has also been consolidated, and it has doubled. We can leave now." As he spoke, Yichen had the intention to leave. "Let's go." After staying for so many days, it was time to leave. Morong Qingqing did not have any objections. The deep ocean was boundless, as if there was no end to it. After flying above the ocean for 7 days and 7 nights, the two crossed millions of li and arrived at a new ocean region. This ocean region was marked on the map as Richlight Ocean Span. The reason it was called Richlight Ocean Span was because there were many ruins here. Some of these ruins would often be explored by people, obtaining treasures that ordinary people could only dream of. As time went by, this ocean region got its name. Yichen spent a large amount of spirit stones to buy a map, and decided to go there to try his luck. The Sky Scorpio sword in his storage ring was a huge source of Zhen Yuan. Yichen really couldn't use it. Thunder Disaster Sword and other semi-extreme grade swords were also starting to fall behind. He needed a pseudo-extreme grade sword, or perhaps an even more powerful semi-extreme grade sword. As for Morong Qingqing, she didn't have a pair of artifact gloves. "I heard that Richlight Ocean Span is very prosperous, and auctions are often held there. Perhaps we won't need to explore, and can obtain what we want." Morong Qingqing smiled. "I hope so." Yichen faintly nodded. Foursquare Island was one of the more famous islands in Richlight Ocean Span. The island was vast and towering, shaped like a square, hence the name Foursquare Island. There were many forces stationed on Foursquare Island, including human sects, demonic beast and oceanic beast forces, as well as some organizations of deviant species. In short, one could see all kinds of strange life forms here. It wouldn't be strange if one ran into them on the street, since the people here had long since become accustomed to it. With influence, there would naturally be business. The most prosperous business here was undoubtedly the auction house. followed by miscellaneous goods stores, material stores, restaurants, and so on. Due to rich light ocean span's peculiarity, many experts from the surrounding ocean span would come here from time to time to try their luck. As a result, the experts here were like cabbages. Sea of Soul realm experts were as numerous as dogs, and half-step kings could be found everywhere. Experts were not very valuable here, but they were also very valuable. Above the ocean near Foursquare Island, numerous figures stood in the sky. Dozens of li away from these figures, two figures were engaged in an intense battle. The flames of battle soared into the sky, and the multicolored chi even eclipsed the blazing sun in the sky. Bastard, eat my fist. One was a golden-haired youngster, and the other was a red-faced man with a wide mouth and a square face. The two fiercely fought, and their chi raised several 100 meters tall waves. Amidst the intense battle, the golden-haired youngster roared and stomped on the waves, punching toward the red-faced man in the sky. This fist didn't contain Jin Yuan, but an incomparably dense demonic power. The demonic power was golden in color, and incomparably resplendent. Little bastard, your grandpa will skin you alive. The red-faced man wasn't someone to be trifled with. Raising the blade in his hand, he rapidly spun down. The snow-white blade light was like a tornado, devouring the golden fist power, and then devouring the golden-haired youngster. The fierceness of the blade aura was frightening. There are so many experts here. 10 to 20% of the spectators are half-step kings. Amidst the crowd, two figures, one male and one female, had appeared out of nowhere. They were Yi Chun and Morong Qingcheng. Yi Chun glanced around and exclaimed. Morong Qingcheng was attracted by the battle and said, "That golden-haired youngster should be a half-step demonic beast king. I wonder what kind of demonic beast he is. Young miss must be a newcomer. You don't even know the young master of the Golden Lion clan, Shi Xiaobao." Beside her, a handsome youngster in luxurious clothes was attracted by Morong Qingcheng's clear and melodious voice. He couldn't help but turn his head and see that the speaker was a peerless beauty. His eyes couldn't help but brighten as he said, "Golden Lion clan?" Morong Qingcheng had never heard of it. Yi Chun, on the other hand, had heard of it. The Golden Lion clan should be one of the 100 beasts. They have boundless strength, and the demonic power they cultivate is called golden demonic power. Among the 100 beasts, they are ranked at the top. In the ancient era, it was said that there were more than 100 kinds of peak aptitude demonic beasts. These demonic beasts were classified as 100 beasts, and the Golden Lion clan was one of them. Some of the ancestors of the half-beast clans were also part of the 100 beasts, such as Nine-Headed Snake, Sky Tiger, Blue-Eyed White Wolf, and Yen Feng Feng. Moreover, they were ranked even higher than the Golden Lion clan. After all, the Blue Wan was a descendant of the Phoenix. You seem to know quite a bit. The well-dressed youngster sized up Yi Chun. Seeing that Yi Chun was merely at the peak of late Sea of Soul realm, he couldn't help but reveal a disdainful expression, thinking that he was merely Morong Qingcheng's follower. How could a follower have the qualifications to butt in? Clearing his throat, he no longer looked at Yi Chun and said to Morong Qingcheng, "Shi Xiaobao is a rare genius of the Golden Lion clan. His battle strength is extremely frightening. Even if I were to face him, I wouldn't have much of a chance of victory. As for this red-faced man, he is called Hong Aokuan. Because of a quarrel, the two have turned into a big battle. From the looks of it, they won't stop until one of them is dead." Rumble. As the well-dressed youngster spoke, the battle between Shi Xiaobao and Hong Aokuan reached its climax. Roar. A muffled thunderous roar resounded as Shi Xiaobao suddenly transformed into his true form, turning into a 30-meter-tall golden lion. This golden lion had 4 pillar-like limbs, sharp claws, and a golden mane that shone resplendently as if forged from gold. Amidst his roar, a golden light radiated in all directions as he suddenly leaped up, appearing above Hong Aokuan and stomping down. Hong Aokuan's battle strength was more or less the same as Shi Xiaobao's in human form. At this moment, Shi Xiaobao had reverted to his true form, so how could he be his opponent? He was stomped down, his whole body bathed in blood. Shi Xiaobao was a savage by nature. After stomping down on Hong Aokuan, his huge head swooped down and fiercely bit down on Hong Aokuan's body. Puchi! Hong Aoquan's body was torn in two at the waist. Blood spurted out as he died on the spot. Roar! Spitting out the corpse, Shi Xiaobao faced the sky and roared. A domineering aura erupted, intimidating many people. Chapter 781. He is indeed worthy of being a rare genius of the Golden Lion race. Once he regains his true form, his strength will increase by several folds. Hong Aoquan can be considered a powerful half-step king, but he was actually bitten in two. Everyone was already used to the tragic death of a half-step king. In rich light oceanography, experts died every day. They were happy to watch the show. This is already the second half-step king Shi Xiaobao has killed in this month. TSK, this golden lion is indeed brave and fierce. The luxuriously dressed youth said arrogantly with battle intent rising in his heart. Let's go. The battle had already ended, and Golden Lion Shi Xiaobao had the last laugh. Yi Chen also gained a new understanding of this peak high-grade demonic beast. Morong Qingqing followed behind Yi Chen. What's going on? A lackey actually wants the master to follow him? The luxuriously dressed youth was displeased, but he couldn't say anything. After all, even Morong Qingqing didn't object, so why should he? Miss, this one is Lin Yuxuan. Remember me? The luxuriously dressed youth Lin Yuxuan sent a Zhen Yuan transmission to Morong Qingqing. Morong Qingqing paused for a moment, but didn't say anything. She followed behind Yi Chen, flying toward the nearby Four-Square Island. The top of Four-Square Island was very flat, and a huge city was situated on it, spanning several dozen li in both length and width. Landing on a long street, Yi Chen casually glanced around and found a map shop. Boss, give me a map of Four-Square City. Yi Chen arrived in front of the shop counter and knocked on the counter with his finger. All right, here's your map. It's worth 10 upper-grade spirit stones. The shop owner took out a folded map from the counter drawer and placed it on the counter. 10 upper-grade spirit stones for a map of a city? Yi Chen's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything. Walking out of the shop, Morong Qingqing laughed. The people who come here are all experts with a net worth of millions. They don't care about a mere 10 upper-grade spirit stones. Every place has a price, and it varies from person to person. However, compared to other places, it's a bit too ruthless. In an ordinary city in a small country, a city map would only cost a few taels at most. Even those super cities like the Martial City would only cost a few low-grade spirit stones. Compared to this place, the difference was too big. Of course, such a high price was understandable. The people here were all Almighty Sea of Soul Realm experts and half-step kings. If one were to ask for a few low-grade spirit stones, some of them would not be able to take it out. After all, everyone had only upper-grade spirit stones, and mid-grade spirit stones were rare. The map of Four-Square City was very detailed. What was on each street was clearly marked. Let's go to the material store first. Maybe I can find what I need. Breaking through to Half-Step King Realm was not without shortcuts. According to Battle King's memories, there was a kind of half-step extreme-grade spirit plant called Heart-Protecting Flower that could protect the heart. If it could be refined into a heart-protecting pellet, the effect would be doubled. With the heart-protecting flower, Yi Chen would be able to increase the speed of his blood flow several times when breaking through to Half-Step King Realm. As long as the speed did not reach a certain level, he would not have to worry about his heart not being able to bear it. The material shop was on the 3rd street next door. This street was filled with material shops and grocery stores. Most of the things inside were not of much value, but it was possible to find priceless treasures. It depended on whether one had luck and good eyesight. Arriving at the first material store on the street, Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing walked in. 2 guests, feel free to look around. Our store's goods are guaranteed to be cheaper than other stores. The store owner greeted them warmly. Yi Chen faintly nodded. In this material store, most of the materials were of the middle grade. There were very few high-grade materials. As for the semi-supreme grade materials, they were all locked in the counters and could only be seen through the crystal. In some corners, there were some materials of unknown grade and function. Because they had been piled up there for many years, some dust had already fallen on them, making them look even more ancient. This place actually has soul stones. but there aren't many of them. On the wooden shelf on the east side, Yi Chen saw a few silver-black soul stones. He extended his soul power, but it was immediately blocked by the faint silver light outside the soul stones. Although it could not block all of them, it could still somewhat limit the soul power. Moreover, there were only a few of them. Only when there were enough of them could one's soul power be blocked. Without a doubt, these soul stones were genuine. A fist-sized soul stone would be worth about 5,000 upper-grade spirit stones on the market. These soul stones are all half the size of a fist. So 4,000 upper-grade spirit stones would not be too much of a scam. Yi Chen sized them up, then turned around to look for something else. "Boss, do you have any more soul stones?" Right at this moment, a man walked over, picked up a soul stone from the wooden shelf, and asked the boss. Seeing that business had come, the boss smiled and said, Yes, there are some in the inventory. But they are for my own use. Look at the price." The boss rubbed his hands. "Don't worry. I will take as many as you have. In addition, I will add 5% to the price." This man was wearing a white robe and had a graceful bearing. It was obvious that he was a high-level figure in a sect. Collecting soul stones was probably a sect's mission. A powerful sect must have a protective formation that could block soul power. Therefore, soul stones were quite necessary. Therefore, soul stones were generally useless for individuals. But they were very useful for a sect. "Alright, follow me. Xiaofang, help me look after the store." The boss smiled and led the white-robed man into one of the rooms in the store. "Let's go and have a look at the other stores." After walking around the store, Yi Chen did not see anything good. He left the store with Morong Qingqing and returned to the street. Next, Yi Chen visited 7 or 8 stores in a row. Finally, he found 3 heart-nourishing grass, 2 spirit-melting grass, and 1 ice spirit flower. Heart-nourishing grass was a top-rank spirit plant. It had the same effect as the heart-protecting flower. However, the difference between the two was that the heart-protecting flower emphasized the word protect. For a certain period of time, the heart-nourishing grass had an extremely powerful protective effect. On the other hand, the heart-nourishing grass was used to nourish the heart and strengthen it. After a long time, the heart would naturally be able to withstand more pressure. The 3 heart-nourishing grass could increase Yi Chen's chances of breaking through to half-step king realm, to a certain extent. But whether he would succeed or not, Yi Chen did not know for now. As for the top-rank spirit plant spirit-melting grass, it was an extremely special spirit plant. This kind of spirit plant could allow Zhen Yuan and blood to fuse for a longer period of time. When this period of time was considerable, Yi Chen would be able to fuse his Zhen Yuan with his blood and successfully enter half-step king realm without the heart-protecting flower and heart-nourishing grass. Unfortunately, 2 plants were still too little. As for the last one, the ice spirit flower was used as a precaution. When the pressure on the heart was too great and could not be reduced in a short period of time, the ice spirit flower could be swallowed to freeze the blood flow and reduce the pressure on the heart, preventing the blood from necrosis. Using these 3 spirit plants together would undoubtedly increase the success rate. But in truth, the effect was still not as good as the heart-protecting flower. After all, although the effect of the heart-protecting flower was very short, only lasting for a week or so, it still had a very powerful protective effect on the heart during this period of time. The 3 heart-nourishing grass cost Yi Chen 800,000 top-rank spirit stones. The spirit-melting grass cost 200,000, so 2 would be 400,000. The ice spirit flower was a bit cheaper, costing 80,000 each. The total cost was 1,280,000 top-rank spirit stones, which was several times more expensive than other spirit plants of the same rank. The reason why it was so expensive was because everyone knew that it was a supplementary item for breaking through to half-step king realm. Once one broke through to half-step king realm, why would they care about 1 million top-rank spirit stones? Let's wait and see. The heart-nourishing grass has a nurturing process, so it won't help me break through to half-step king realm in a short period of time. Once I find the heart-protecting flower, I will be able to do so soon. Yi Chen sighed. According to the map, he and Morong Qingqing went to another street and entered one material store after another. The sun was setting in the west, and a day passed by quickly. Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing had visited almost all of the material stores in Foursquare City, but couldn't find a single heart-protecting flower. However, they heard from a material store owner that a trace of a heart-protecting flower appeared in an auction half a year ago and was sold for a high price of 5 million top-rank spirit stones. No matter where it was, the heart-protecting flower was a rare treasure. It was even rarer than some of the top-rank materials and had a price but no market. After all, there were a lot of peak-level late sea of Soul Realm experts in 5th rank and even 4th rank sections. Once there was a heart-protecting flower, they would go crazy over it. It was impossible for it to be found in the outside world. Therefore, there were a lot of people who had heard of the heart-protecting flower, but very few who had actually seen it. After walking around with Yi Chun, Morong Qingqing also had some small gains. What she bought were all spirit plants with demonic nature. Their value was not high, and there were even some suspicions that it was a buy one get one free deal. In the Elysium, there were very few people who cultivated demonic arts, and not many people who cultivated demonic arts. After buying dozens of materials, they only spent 100,000 top-rank spirit stones, which was a free deal. After finding a restaurant with a courtyard, the two checked in. Night fell, and the cold wind whistled. Yi Chun was meditating in a special secret room in the restaurant. On the walls of the secret room, there were a few lamps, which were very bright and not dazzling. After a while, Yi Chun opened his eyes and took out 3 stalks of heart-nourishing grass from his storage ring. These 3 stalks of heart-nourishing grass had different maturity levels. The most mature one was 5,200 years old, while the least mature one was only 3,300 years old. Picking out the least mature one, Yi Chun opened his mouth and inhaled. The medicinal power inside the heart-nourishing grass turned into a sparkling blood light and was sent into Yi Chun's mouth. Gulp. Once the sparkling blood light entered his body, it immediately stuck to the surface of his beating heart. Under his inner vision, Yi Chun could see that his heart was covered with a layer of blood clothes. This blood clothes kept on wriggling, and some of the blood strands seeped into his heart, nourishing it. After about half a cup of tea's time, Yi Chun felt a chill in his heart, which was then followed by a wave of heat. The cold and heat kept on coming, and it was hard to tell whether it was the cold or the heat. In the end, Yi Chun decided to just ignore it and let the heart-nourishing grass nourish his heart. Time passed by day after day. In the blink of an eye, Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing had stayed for 3 days. In these 3 days, the 3,300 years old heart-nourishing grass had already absorbed half of its medicinal power into Yi Chun's heart. Yi Chun could clearly feel that his heart had become a lot stronger. Although its beating frequency did not change, it was more powerful than before. On this day, Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing came to a tea house in the central square of Foursquare City. This tea house was very unusual. The people who came to drink tea were all experts who wanted to form a team. As for why they wanted to form a team, it was naturally to explore the ruins. There were too many dangers in the ruins. If they went alone, they would most likely die in there. Chapter 782. As soon as Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing entered the tea house, they didn't join in the fun. Instead, they found a window seat and sat down, ordering 2 cups of tea. The tea house was huge, divided into 4 floors. The center was hollow, so one could see the 4th floor from the 1st floor, and the 1st floor from the 4th floor. Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing were on the east side of the 2nd floor. Although there were a lot of people in the tea house, there wasn't any noise. Everyone was like Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing, sitting at their seats and drinking tea with their eyes closed. Others had arranged to enter the secret chambers of each floor to discuss matters. Everything seemed to be in order. 2 guests, your tea. The footsteps of the waiter were very light. When he arrived in front of Yi Chun, he said softly. Yi Chun nodded and told the waiter to put down the tea. The freshly brewed tea was slightly hot. Yi Chun picked it up and blew on it a few times. Using this opportunity, he shifted his gaze and started to observe the people in the tea house. There was nothing much to see on the 1st floor. Everyone was at the Sea of Soul Realm, and there wasn't a single half-step king. Yi Chen's gaze first fell on the second floor. On the second floor, there was only one person who caught Yi Chen's attention. It was the yellow-robed woman sitting on the west side. She looked to be in her 30s, and her face was tender and beautiful. Her nose was high, and her eyes were pitch black with a hint of deep yellow. Her gaze was very scattered, and it was hard to tell where her focus was. What caught Yi Chen's attention was not her appearance, but the extremely well-hidden strange aura on her body. This kind of aura was like a maggot in one's bones, extremely feminine. I wonder what kind of demonic beast cultivated it. Yi Chen thought to himself. Just as Yi Chen was sizing up the yellow-robed woman, she seemed to have sensed something. She turned her head toward Yi Chen, revealing a gentle yet chilling smile. Not to be trifled with. Yi Chen gave him a label. Compared to the second floor, there were undoubtedly more people worthy of attention on the third floor. There were twin brothers sitting by the railing. One was as majestic as a tower, while the other was as sturdy as a bull. Both of them wore copper earrings on their left and right ears respectively. There was a middle-aged scholar, who was holding a sword, and resting with his eyes closed. There was a haggard old woman with a sinister aura. There was a bald fatty with a tattoo on his head. There was also a strange old man wearing a raincoat. There are dozens of peak half-step kings in this tea house, and I can't see through 7 or 8 of them. I'm afraid they are close to strongest half-step kings. Morong Qingqing was also observing the people in the tea house. Yi Chen said, "The yellow-clothed woman on the second floor, and the old man in the raincoat on the third floor, should be the strongest. The others aren't weak either. They're all rare powerhouses." Among the ones worth paying attention to, the yellow-robed woman and the raincoat old man posed the greatest threat to Yi Chen. Even if they weren't strongest half-step kings, they wouldn't be far off. My eyesight is still a bit worse than yours. I don't see anything wrong with these two. Morong Qingqing sized up the yellow-robed woman and the old man again, and couldn't help but lightly shake her head. She didn't have the frightening intuition that Yi Chen had. Yi Chen chuckled. Based on my first impression, there might be some oversights. Perhaps there are even more hidden ones. The tea house was very quiet. From time to time, a group of people would walk out of the secret pavilion and leave the tea house. The number of people in the tea house was getting fewer and fewer, and it was getting quieter and quieter. Look, that yellow-robed woman has been invited away. Morong Qingqing said. Yi Chen looked over and saw that the one who invited the yellow-robed woman was a waiter of a tea house. He led the woman to a secret pavilion on the third floor. Soon after, the door of the pavilion closed, and the waiter walked out. Half a cup of tea's time later, the twin brothers were also invited into the secret pavilion. Another half a cup of tea's time later, the servant walked in front of Morong Qingqing. "Miss, the owner of the secret pavilion invites you for a chat." Oh, Morong Qingqing wasn't surprised at all. After all, everyone came to the tea house for the same purpose, which was to form a team and explore the ruins together. I'm with him. Morong Qingqing knew that with Yi Chen's cultivation base, he would be looked down upon. In this world, how many people could be like Yi Chen, who could kill people with higher realms, as if they were eating? Those who saw him for the first time would think that he could compete with ordinary half-step kings at most. Whether he could win or not was another matter. The servant obviously got the hint. Then let's go together. Following the servant, the two arrived at the door of the secret pavilion on the third floor. With a creaking sound, the secret pavilion's door opened, and Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing walked in. Seems like there is a soul stone array inlaid on the wall. Entering the secret pavilion, Yi Chen didn't find anything mysterious. Instead, his soul power could seep out. But outside, his soul power couldn't sense the situation inside. Inside the secret pavilion sat 9 people. Apart from the yellow-robed woman and the twin brothers, there were 2 young men, 1 middle-aged woman, 2 middle-aged men, and 1 old man. Sitting in the main seat was a middle-aged man. His face was bronze, and his skin had a metallic texture. His eyes were shining brightly like 2 shining black gems, more black than white. What's going on? Can a peak late Sea of Soul Realm warrior join our team? Don't you think he'll drag us down? The middle-aged woman, with a mean expression, muttered, "Hee hee, kid, you've come to the wrong door." One of the twin brothers grinned. The two youths had different expressions. One had a sneer on his face, while the other was expressionless. His eyelids were drooping, as if he didn't care about anything. Meanwhile, the yellow-faced man with a lustful gaze was releasing his soul power, without the slightest scruple, sweeping across Yi Chun, as if he wanted to humiliate him. On the other hand, the tanned man and the yellow-robed woman didn't make a sound, calmly observing the situation. Humph! Yi Chun lightly snorted and counterattacked with his soul power. The yellow-faced middle-aged man felt his soul tremble, and his body went out of control. What shocked him was that Yi Chun's soul power seemed to carry a cutting intent, as if it was cutting into his soul. The feeling of being like a fish on a chopping board was not pleasant. Seeing that it was the yellow-faced man who was at a disadvantage, the others' gazes toward Yi Chun couldn't help but change. This yellow-faced man was a half-step king after all, and his soul power wouldn't be weak. Moreover, he had formed a soul membrane. Not many here could make him suffer a loss using soul power. Thus, they all inwardly looked at Yi Chun a bit more highly, and their attitudes were somewhat restrained, at least on the surface. "You two, please sit." The tanned man retracted his strange expression, and indifferently said, as he gestured with his palm. Morong Qingqing nodded and reservedly sat down. Yi Chun's gaze swept past Lin Yuxuan, who was beside the tanned man, and calmly sat down without the slightest bit of restraint. "You two, I've already discussed with everyone here to explore some ruins, and they have all agreed. The reason I've invited you two is because you two look different from the others, and your strength is certainly not weak. As the saying goes, one more person is one more portion of strength." The tanned man hadn't paid much attention to Yi Chun at the beginning, and only wanted to invite Morong Qingqing. But now he naturally couldn't say that. Moreover, Yi Chun didn't look as weak as he looked. The yellow-faced man, as a half-step king, had actually suffered quite a bit of loss in soul power. This spoke volumes. Yi Chun said, "Continue." The tanned man and everyone present were somewhat astonished. Between the two, Yi Chun seemed to be the leader. Could it be that this Yi Chun really had some ability? Or was it only in name? Clearing his throat, the tanned man said in a deep voice, "If you two agree, I'll continue. If you two don't agree, then please leave. For the time being, not many people know about the ruins I've discovered. This information can't be leaked." Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing exchanged a glance. Then Yi Chun said in a deep voice, "We agree." "All right then." The bronze-skinned middle-aged man smiled and said, "This relic is very large. The place I found is only a part of it. But even this part is not small. This relic is the relic of the True Water Palace." True Water Palace ruins? Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing were at a loss. They'd never heard of it before. Lin Yuxuan interjected. True Water Palace was once the strongest fourth-grade sect in this ocean region. Its strength is not something any fourth-grade sect can compare to. In its most flourishing era, it had 13 life and death kings, and its master was one of the strongest titled monarchs at that time, True Water Emperor. 13 kings. True Water Emperor. Yi Chun was inwardly startled. This True Water Palace was indeed frightening at its peak. Nowadays, which sect could have 13 life and death kings? Not to mention a titled monarch, True Water Emperor. In ancient times, titled monarchs were genuine monarchs who could leave their marks on the emperor's scar steel. However, even the most flourishing sects would fall one day. The current True Water Palace was merely a pile of ruins, lying silently at the bottom of the ocean for countless years. There's something I'd like to tell everyone. This ruin is shrouded by a restriction, and for some reason, many frightening life forms have appeared inside. I've invited everyone to enter so that we can take care of each other and smoothly take away the treasures inside. The bronze-skinned burly man explained. All right, when do we leave? These kinds of ruins would usually have great weapons. So, Yi Chun did not hesitate and agreed right away. In order to avoid any accidents, and I'm also afraid that someone might leak the news, we'll leave the moment we leave the secret pavilion. Does anyone have any objections? The tanned man's gaze swept the surroundings and asked, What objections can we have? It doesn't matter when we leave. The twin brothers grinned. Me neither. The cold-faced youngster nodded. The others naturally didn't have any objections. Wasn't the reason they came to Richlight Oceanspan to try their luck and obtain some treasures? Alright, there's no rush for now. Everyone rest for a while. After drinking some tea, we'll leave together. The tan man didn't intend to invite anyone anymore. He nodded in satisfaction and lightly shook the bell in the secret pavilion, ordering people to bring tea and pastries. After drinking tea and eating some pastries, the tanned man stood up and said, "Let's go." Chapter 783. Chaotic Demonic Ocean was far enough from True Spirit Continent, but Richlight Oceanspan was even farther. It was already in the depths of the Southern Ocean. There were few people here, but many oceanic beasts were plentiful. However, due to the vile environment, the oceanic beasts were cruel, bloodthirsty, and had low intelligence. The group of 11 flew above the ocean, encountering the attacks of oceanic beasts and flying demonic beasts from time to time. Moreover, they came in large groups, numbering in the thousands and tens of thousands. The group was quite annoyed, and their speed kept decreasing, wasting a lot of time. Only after 3 days did they reach their destination. The bronze-skinned man was called Jin Wanshuang, an old man of Richlight Oceanspan. Relying on his good luck and ability to judge the situation, he had obtained a lot of treasures. With these treasures, as well as thousands of extreme battles, his strength had long since reached the profound realm of half-step kings. Although few people had seen him fight, and didn't know his exact strength, no one dared to look down on him. After dozens of years, those old men of Richlight Oceanspan had either died or left. Only he was alive and well. Standing at the front of the team, Jin Wanshuang turned around and said, "The ruins are 300,000 meters below the seabed. Remember, follow me later. There is a huge water array around the ruins. Although it's badly damaged, the slightest carelessness will cause you to be attacked by it. I'm sure everyone knows what will happen if you cause too much of a commotion 300,000 meters below the seabed. We're naturally aware of this. We'll follow you." The only old man in the group spoke for the first time. His face was full of wrinkles, showing the traces of time and the vicissitudes of life. "Alright, let's go." Jin Wanshuang's figure flickered, turning into a golden rainbow and shooting down. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Chun and the others followed behind him, not leaving even an inch behind. 300,000 meters was an extremely dangerous depth for ordinary Sea of Soul Realm experts. The water pressure here was unimaginably powerful. As long as there was a hole in the protective Jin Yuan, one would instantly be squeezed into a meatball. Even if a half-step king retracted his protective Jin Yuan, his life would still be in danger. However, apart from Yi Chun, the rest were all half-step kings. As long as they were a bit careful and didn't get careless, the chances of something happening were very low. Soon, everyone arrived at a depth of 300,000 meters. The huge water pressure caused their speed to become slower and slower. They were not even 1% of their speed on land. The bottom of the deep sea wasn't pitch black. There were many glowing things here, including glowing crystal corals and small glowing creatures. There was a kind of creature with a shining tail and a perfectly round body the size of a thumb. It looked extremely hard, like a solid metal ball. About dozens of meters above the seabed, everyone was wrapped in a colorful protective layer of Zhen Yuan, slowly swimming forward. After a cup of tea's worth of time, Jin Wanshuang's voice came through the vibration of his Zhen Yuan. "We're here. This is the outer area of the ruins, covered by the water element formation. Everyone be careful and follow me." Everyone nodded and looked ahead. In the dim seabed, there were many white jade stone pillars that were dozens of meters tall. The surface of the stone pillars was carved with complicated water patterns. From time to time, there would be blue flowing lights following the traces of the water patterns, attracting many spherical creatures to come closer. Jin Wanshuang waved his hand and began swimming toward the stone pillars. No one knew how big the stone pillars were. If it weren't for Jin Wanshuang leading the way, they might have gotten lost in the stone pillars and couldn't find their way out. It should be known that the reason why a formation was called a formation was that it wouldn't have too many flaws. For example, the seemingly safest place, the sky, might actually be the most dangerous. Therefore, no one swam to the top of the white jade stone pillars. They all maintained a height of dozens of meters. Many of these white jade stone pillars have already been broken or collapsed. If we follow the broken pillars, the formation won't be triggered. Yichen finally saw through it. No matter how big the stone pillars were, there was still a limit. Everyone followed behind Jin Wanshuang, turning here and there, sometimes taking a big circle. Finally, they passed through the entire stone pillar group and arrived in front of a dilapidated but exceptionally grand building complex. The tallest building was over 1,000 meters tall, standing at the bottom of the ocean. The shortest was an arched gate at the front, which was at least 70 to 80 meters tall. It was clearly not Jin Wanshuang's first time here. He explained, "This is the ruin I found. However, I've only explored less than 1/10 of it, and this arched door is the only entrance. We need to break the restrictions on this door to enter." "That's easy. Let us do it." The two brothers walked up. The older one took out a human-sized axe, while the younger one took out 2 machetes. Jin Wanshuang didn't object. The restriction on the arched gate wasn't that high-leveled. With the two's strength, it was more than enough to break it. If they couldn't, then there was no point in entering the ruin. It was too dangerous. Ha! The two brothers roared at the same time. The axe and machetes slashed toward the arched gate. Their speed was so fast that even at the seabed, it was enough to raise everyone's eyebrows. Kacha! The arched gate flickered, and a huge hole appeared. After arriving at Foursquare Island, Yichen had already discarded his previous understanding. There were too many half-step kings on the island, and there were also many half-step kings with unfathomable depths. Among the 11 present, which one of them was simple? If they were to fall out, Yichen wouldn't dare to look down on any one of them. Under life and death realm, he was far from being invincible. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged woman's body faintly swayed, leaving behind a lifelike afterimage. The bronze-armored warrior slashed down, cleaving the afterimage into 2 and dispersing it. "You dare to have designs on this old lady?" The middle-aged woman's temperament was unkind. She coiled her finger, and a black thread coiled around the bronze-armored warrior's neck. With a forceful pull, a head was torn off. "Let's go!" Jin Wanshuang was very experienced. With a single glance, he could tell that the bronze-armored warrior's strength was equivalent to an ordinary half-step king. The middle-aged woman didn't die because of her superior strength. However, the number of bronze-armored warriors in the corridor was not just a few dozen, but several hundred. 11 against several hundred bronze-armored warriors was not an easy task. Ka. Just as Jin Wanshuang's voice faded, the bronze-armored warriors on the corridor revived one after another, crowding the corridor so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Clang! Yichen waved his sword and sent a bronze-armored warrior flying. The opponent's bronze armor was extremely sturdy, and only a sword mark was left on it. It seemed that only the exposed parts of the armor were the weak points, such as the neck, eyes, and face. "Let's go." Fuck. So many. The group didn't have the time to face the bronze-armored warriors head-on. They crazily ran, blowing away the bronze-armored warriors, blocking their way one after another, opening up a path for only one person. At this moment, everyone's style was revealed. Jin Wanshuang's attacks were simple and unadorned. They were not magnificent, but they were extremely effective. They were just right, not wasting the slightest bit of strength. The experienced old man was not inferior to Jin Wanshuang. His withered palms seemed slow, but were actually fast. The bronze-armored warriors on both sides were squeezed together, unable to exert their strength. Although the yellow-faced man had suffered a loss at the hands of Yi Chun, he wasn't weak either. Holding a shield in one hand and a spear in the other, his footsteps were steady as he borrowed strength to counterattack. The cold-faced youngster was a sword artist just like Yi Chun. His sword speed was extremely fast, and the bronze-armored warriors pouncing at him were all blown away by his sword chi, unable to climb back up for a long time. On the other hand, Ling Yuxuan seemed to be somewhat inexperienced. His moves were wide and powerful, and the bronze-armored warriors that were hit by him fell off one after another. Although it seemed like he was unstoppable, doing so in this kind of dangerous place was a bit too much of a waste of Jin Yuan. The yellow-robed lady was indeed one of the people that Yi Chen couldn't see through. From the beginning to the end, she hadn't made a single move, and those bronze-armored warriors couldn't even touch her clothes. Chapter 784. In addition to these people, there were also two people in the crowd who were even more unscrupulous than Lin Yuxuan. They were the twin brothers. The two of them carried a giant axe and a machete as they charged forward. How could the charging bronze-armored warriors resist the two wolf-like people? They were knocked over and lost their footing, swaying left and right. However, they were different from Lin Yuxuan. These two mostly relied on brute force and did not use much Jin Yuan. Although they looked impressive, their consumption was pitiful. As for the middle-aged woman, she found it difficult to deal with so many bronze-armored warriors. It could be seen that she walked the path of cunning and sinister. One against one, one against two. It was much easier for her to deal with them than ordinary people. But once the numbers reached a certain level, she would find it difficult to deal with them. Fortunately, her movement techniques were quite good, and she could always avoid the bronze-armored warriors' attacks at critical moments and follow closely behind the group. Yi Chen and Morong Qingcheng were also at the back of the group. In front of them were the twin brothers, and behind them was the middle-aged woman. Morong Qingcheng relied on speed to make a living. Speed was her talent, so she was naturally very calm. Clang, 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 clang. Yi Chen strolled leisurely. The thunder disaster sword in his hand seemed slow, but was actually fast. Every time it was swung, it was just right when the warriors were about to attack. So, it looked like they were coming to him on their own. It was orderly and pleasing to the eye. Before, the middle-aged woman had looked down on Yi Chen a bit, thinking that he had no other use besides his soul power. But now she did not think that way anymore. Among the 11 people, Yi Chen was the most relaxed. It was not that he was the strongest, but his perception and timing were the best. This brat does have some skills. He is not that easy to deal with. If there are any disputes in the future, I will wait and see. Living at their level, it was very important to judge the situation. Arguing with someone they had no confidence in dealing with was not a rational and stupid thing to do. The bronze-armored warriors in the corridor were like a tide, while the group was like an iron boat on the tide, cutting through the waves and pressing forward. After about the time it took to drink half a cup of tea, everyone safely passed through the corridor. Turning around, they saw that all the bronze-armored warriors were frozen in place. Then with a flash of light, they merged into the pillars on both sides of the corridor, becoming one with the sculptures. Is everyone all right? Jin Wanshuang let out a breath and asked after scanning the surroundings. Not bad, let's continue forward. The bronze-armored warriors were nothing more than an appetizer for them. Both sides were covered in layers of mist, making it hard to advance or retreat. If they went forward, they wouldn't know where the end was. And if they retreated, the distance was not short either. Moreover, they had come here for treasures, so there was no reason to retreat. However, compared to their lives, retreating did not seem shameful. Forward, Jin Wanshuang's face was firm as he led the way. Follow him. At this moment, there was only unity. However, when they saw countless light dots coming through the mist, everyone stopped and looked at each other in dismay. They're coming. There are some on the left and right as well. Are they forcing us to retreat? Whoosh! As everyone discussed, the twin brothers shot out an axe light and two blade lights. The axe light and blade light were as fast as lightning, slashing into the depths of the mist. Pung 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 pung. Continuous explosions resounded, and the dazzling flame light illuminated the entire fire forest. The mist on the path was also swept away by the shockwave, leaving no obstacles behind. Everyone looked forward, and could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. They could not see the end of the line. What they saw was an overwhelming number of self-detonating fireworms. Among them, there were some fist-sized self-detonating fireworms with blue light flashing on their tails. On the other hand, although there were a lot of them, they were sparse, Not even 1% of the ones at the front. The ones on the left and right sides were a bit more than the ones at the back. Jin Wanshuang turned his head and said, "This is the only way. Either we go forward or we go back. If we go back, then this ruin will have nothing to do with him, unless we can find a way to deal with these bugs. Since we came here together, we will naturally advance and retreat together. Now let's vote. Those who support moving forward, take one step forward, and those who support moving back, take one step back." The bugs were getting closer and closer, flying up and down. They didn't have much time left. Forward. The cold-looking youngster was the first to vote as he took a step forward. "I also agree to move forward." The yellow-robed lady was the second. Agreed. Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing moved forward at the same time. In the end, only the elder and the middle-aged lady didn't vote. Lin Yuxuan hesitated a bit, but still took a step forward. 9 against 2. Whether we vote or not, it is meaningless. The elder took a deep breath and calmed himself down. "Then let's go forward." The middle-aged lady's face was bitter. She couldn't go back alone. The treasure was too tempting, and she would definitely regret it when she went back. At this moment the elder said again, "The bugs will be attracted by blood qi. Only by approaching them will they come over. We have to be fast, and don't try to kill them. On the other hand, if the blood qi is reserved, it won't come near." The yellow-robed lady suddenly said. The elder said bitterly, "How could it be that easy? Reserved blood qi is useless against the bugs. As long as you are still alive, they will be able to sense your blood qi." The yellow-robed lady smiled without replying. Could she be able to do that? Yi Chen sensed a non-committal expression flash past the yellow-robed lady's face, which made him suspicious. "Alright, since everyone has agreed, then from now on, don't think about anything else. Take out all the things that can be used for defense. Don't be afraid of wasting them." Jin Wanshuang activated his defensive armor. He didn't carry any weapons in his hands, but 2 shields, one big and one small. The big one was as tall as a human, while the small one was only 1 meter. The others also had a lot of stock. Just like Jin Wanshuang, they all held shields and activated their defensive armors. They were all armed to the teeth, looking like warriors who were about to enter the battlefield. Charge! The group of 11 people flew forward at their fastest speed. Due to the invisible power in the ruins, their speed was only 1% of their speed on land. The self-exploding flaming bugs were a kind of fierce bug that was extremely sensitive to blood qi. Everyone revolved their Jin Yuan, causing their blood qi to become even more exuberant. Without a doubt, the self-exploding flaming bugs were even more attractive to them. One by one, they flew over, and then developed into groups. As far as the eye could see, the sky was filled with light spots. Boom 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 boom, flames shrouded everyone, along with a series of metal exploding sounds. It was the sound of the bugs hitting the metal shields. Go! The upper rank shield in his hand was destroyed. Yi Chen shook his Zhen Yuan, and the shield flew out along with a wave of fireflies. He then took out another shield, and the one that he had thrown away disappeared into the distance with a ball of flame. The speed at which the shields were being destroyed was too fast. Upper-grade shields would not be able to last for a long time, and only the semi-extreme grade shields could slightly withstand this kind of explosion. Unfortunately, shields were one of the rarer artifacts, and everyone only had 1 or 2 semi-extreme grade shields on them. At most, they would take out 1, since no one would use all of their semi-extreme grade shields on the exploding firebugs. Therefore, the upper-grade shields had become the fastest consumable. After dozens of breaths, everyone had already used up dozens of shields, which was a horrifying sight to behold. Pung! All of a sudden, a 10 times louder sound exploded, and the group's formation was torn apart. Yi Chen looked over. Unknowingly, those fist-sized fireflies with their tails flickering with blue light had also joined the attack. Their self-detonation power was 10 times that of ordinary fireflies. Chapter 785. After splitting up, the crowd did not dare to be careless. Not only did they not slow down, they even activated their secret arts, increasing their speed drastically. Of course, no one dared to collide with the blue fireflies. They were all trying their best to avoid them. Even if they could not avoid them, they would still send out an attack to take them down. As time went by, everyone began to understand the terror of the exploding firebugs more and more. Normal attacks were useless against the exploding firebugs. There seemed to be an invisible membrane around their bodies, which had the effect of neutralizing chi power. Only extremely condensed attacks could hit the exploding firebugs from a distance and make them explode. On the other hand, the exploding firebugs could actually ignore their protective Zhen Yuan to a certain extent. If it were not for the shields in their hands, they would have already been blown to pieces. Dark force field. Dozens of blue fireflies flew over from Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing's side. The ordinary fireflies numbered in the thousands, and their speed was extremely fast. Morong Qingqing's expression turned serious. Her body suddenly flickered with purple-black electric arcs. As the electric arcs appeared, a twisting force field spread out, enveloping the fireflies in the surroundings. Buzz! All the fireflies that approached were bounced off, unable to move an inch closer. When Morong Qingqing was still at Clasping Yuan Realm, she had already mastered the Sky Demon force field. But now the Sky Demon force field had naturally been eliminated. According to the characteristics of the Sky Demon Great Art, Morong Qingqing had researched the dark force field based on the Dark Profound. Compared to the Sky Demon force field, the dark force field had reached a whole new level. It was like comparing the magnetic field of a human body to the magnetic field of a star. With the protection of the dark force field, Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing immediately felt a lot more relaxed. I didn't expect the force field to be so useful at this moment. Yi Chun sighed. Morong Qingqing's dark force field had yet to reach a profound level. Using it to deal with a half-step king of the same level, it was naturally insufficient and ineffective. However, it was more than enough to deal with the self-detonating flaming bugs. This was like the saying, everything has its counter. Morong Qingqing said. Previously, I didn't understand the characteristics of the self-detonating fireflies. That's why I tried using the darkness force field to block them. The effect is better than I expected. Yi Chun smiled and said, with the darkness force field we can come and go as we please. The sudden silence on their side naturally aroused the suspicions of the others. Immediately, 8 or 9 soul forces scanned over. The middle-aged woman's eyes lit up, and a look of ecstasy flashed across her face. Among everyone here, she was the one in the most sorry state. The successive explosions had already caused her to suffer considerable internal injuries. If it wasn't for her profound cultivation and several secret techniques that could lock her injuries and prevent them from worsening, she would have long since been smashed into pieces. Even so, she also began to despair. This small path seemed to have no end. And just like the small path, there was no end to the self-exploding fireflies. They were innumerable. If this continued, she would be blown to death sooner or later. At this moment, seeing that Morong Qingqing had a secret technique to restrain the fireflies, how could she not be ecstatic? Disregarding everything else, the middle-aged woman urged her Zhen Yuan and turned toward Morong Qingqing's direction with her shield in hand. She wanted to seek shelter and leave this damned place. Not only the middle-aged woman, but the others also rapidly approached. Among them, there were some who were confident in passing through the small path, but they would certainly consume a lot of energy. At this moment, a shelter had suddenly appeared. Who would be stupid enough to not accept it? Buzz! The middle-aged woman was just about to approach, but unexpectedly, an invisible force field bounced her back. Normally she could naturally break through the force field, but at this moment, this force field was her only hope. The middle-aged woman's face was full of grievance and anger. Miss, we are now a team, so we should help each other. How about this? I promise on behalf of them, that as long as we find a treasure, not only will you be the first to choose, you will also get 10% more. How about it? Does everyone agree? Jin Wanshuang was indeed worthy of being an experienced person. At this moment, he knew that it would not be good for anyone to fall out. Moreover, before coming here, no one had thought that they would need to seek shelter. It was true that they were a team, but when there was only one person who could protect the others, it was a completely different matter. Finishing his words, Jin Wanshuang turned to the others. He believed that they would make the right choice. 10% more, but only for the first time. The twin brothers nodded, then shook their heads. All right, I have no objections. Me too. Everyone agreed. They did not know how long the small path was, and they did not dare to joke around with their lives. Let them in, Yi Chen said to Morong Qingcheng. Morong Qingcheng faintly nodded, and opened a gap in the dark force field, letting everyone in. Pop! As soon as they entered, the fireflies followed the blood qi. However, the dark force field had already closed up, and they were bounced away. Maintaining the dark force field, Morong Qingcheng led everyone and continued to advance. In fact, she did not let the middle-aged woman in at the beginning, not because of her personal benefits, but because of her personal principles. If you want to come in, then come in. What do you think I am? At this moment, she could not take a single step back. She had to maintain her position, or else others would take it for granted. Although it would not cause any irreconcilable conflict, it was still a problem. The reason Yi Chen did not stop her before was because he knew why Morong Qingcheng wanted to do this. Only after everyone expressed their opinions did he let Morong Qingcheng open the dark force field. The length of the small path was beyond everyone's imagination. After flying for a cup of tea's worth of time, they still could not see the end. At this moment, everyone's displeasure was completely gone. Compared to the extra 10% of the treasures, they did not lose out at all. On the contrary, they had profited. This kind of length was something that no one among them could pass safely. They would have to pay some price, perhaps even their lives. Moreover, they still could not see the end. Who knew how long it would be? Jin Wanshuang also had the same thought. He smiled at Morong Qingcheng and said, "Many thanks." Morong Qingcheng nodded, and did not say anything else. Another cup of tea's worth of time passed, and everyone finally saw the end. They all let out a breath, getting rid of their previous gloominess. Plop! At the end of the small path, everyone landed. Looking back, he saw that the fireflies were like headless flies, flying around aimlessly. It was as if they could not sense the presence of blood qi. After a while, all of the fireflies dispersed and flew into the blazing forest, disappearing without a trace. Finally made it. Jin Wanshuang laughed. Your force field is rather special. It should be driven by profound, right? The yellow-robed woman looked at Morong Qingcheng with interest. Same here. Morong Qingcheng said a thought-provoking sentence. The yellow-robed woman was dazed at first, then slightly surprised. She did not say anything and retreated to the side. This woman is really hard to understand, Yi Chen said. Both of them had already noticed that when they were attacked by the self-exploding flaming worms, all 10 of them were flustered. Only the yellow-clothed woman had very few self-exploding flaming worms around her. Thinking back to what the yellow-clothed woman had said before, that as long as she restrained her blood qi, she would not be attacked, it was not difficult to guess what was going on. Of course, the two did not believe that the others were fools. They must have noticed the peculiarity of the yellow-robed woman, but just did not say it out loud. The extremely dangerous small path landed behind them. In front of everyone's eyes was a golden palace. The palace's door was tightly shut, looking majestic. Open! Jin Wanshuang saw that the palace's door was not covered by any restrictions, so he slapped his palm toward the metal door. Rumble! The doors of the palace that had been closed for countless years finally opened. It was as if a door to the past had been opened to the crowd. Everyone held their breath and stared unblinkingly at the gradually opening palace, afraid to miss the most exciting moment. The palace's door finally opened completely. All of a sudden, a spirit chi light pillar shot out from the door. No one had expected such a change. None of them could dodge in time, and were hit by the light pillar. However, no one was injured. Instead, they felt refreshed. This spirit chi light pillar did not have any offensive power. Once it hit them, they absorbed a lot of it. This is the spirit chi emitted by spirit stones. The middle-aged woman exclaimed. How many spirit stones are needed to gather such a dense spirit chi light pillar? That rush just now seemed to have recovered some of the Zhen Yuan I had consumed. The two brothers opened their mouths wide. Let's go in first. Jin Wanshuang took a deep breath and walked into the palace. The group followed behind him. The palace wasn't very big, and it was decorated with gold and jade. Bright crystal lamps hung from the ceiling, and the floor was paved with priceless white jade bricks. In the center of the palace, there was a huge formation. The formation was circular, and there were countless patterns carved in the center. It was incomparably beautiful. What attracted everyone's attention wasn't the formation, but the spirit stones that were pushed into the formation. A small mountain of spirit stones. All of them were high-grade spirit stones. Next to the small mountain of spirit stones were 7 or 8 small chests, their lids already open. Inside were all sorts of power gems of various attributes: red, blue, green, black, yellow, pink, purple, and everything else. So many upper-grade spirit stones. How many are there? And 7 to 8 chests of energy gems. Everyone's mouths were wide open, unable to say anything. The elder was the first to recover. He cleared his throat and said, "There are at least 500 million upper-grade spirit stones, and 7 chests of energy gems. Not a wasted trip. Not a wasted trip." The yellow-faced man's face was full of joy. Although they had come for treasures and did not care much about upper-grade spirit stones, when they reached a certain level, no one would not be tempted. They were no exception. One must know that with their net worth, having 10 to 20 million upper spirit stones was already the limit, and this was under the premise that they did not consume much. If they bought some priceless items and participated in a few auctions, their net worth would be reduced by at least a few times. 500 million upper-grade spirit stones would be at least 40 to 50 million per person. Adding the energy gems, it would be at least 50 to 60 million. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.